Good evening, folks. It's Frank here. Frank Severely Normal. Let's have a frank talk. I want to talk with my friends and relatives and all the other severely normal Albertans out there. Politicians you're welcome to listen into. The other day, Rachel Notley brought her dining room into your living rooms to explain things to you. Now, she had some graphs. One of those graphs went like this. Went down. And Rachel said, look, oil's down. Then another one came on. That disappeared and another one came on. And it went up. And Rachel said, look, unemployment's up. Then she showed another one going down. And she said, look, our revenues are down. As if we didn't know these three things. So, I don't have access to the public purse. That's what this is, folks, the public purse. Like Rachel did. And before her, Jim Prentice. Grim Jim, you remember Grim Jim. Jim Prentice came on. And he told us, back then, before we elected Rachel, rejected Jim and elected Rachel, he told us that things are very grim. We should look in the mirror and we shouldn't have such high expectations. Look in the mirror, he said. That's whose fault it is. Look in the mirror. Well, Jim, look over here. Now, I'm pretty good at making graphs. I learned it in school. Now, I went to school. This here is my junior high school diploma from St. James School in Edmonton. That's as far as I reach. But I want you to take note of my grade 3 arithmetic marks. I got straight H's. That's what they gave you when you were good in those days. H's. I got H's in everything. I got H's in learning of facts. I got H's in accuracy. And I got H's in solving of problems. And that's what we're here today for, is for solving a problem. So let me put those skills to work. They're the only skills that I was good at. So, the problem is, if you don't believe Prentice, then you got to believe the facts. So let's put the facts up. As reported by the Alberta branch of the Canadian Taxpayers Fund, we were $2.8 billion in the hole by July of 2009. Now, why do I take their figure? Because I don't believe anything the government tells me, and neither should you. Not when it comes to finances. Now, if we were at $2.8 billion in the hole, and ended up at $7.8 billion in the hole at the end of 2014, when Jim blamed it on us, how did we get there? Well, in the year we were $2.8 billion in the hole, was the year that they canceled the collection. Now their job is to collect our taxes and put them in our public purse. But they decided not to, so they canceled the collection of every penny of the Alberta healthcare premium tax. And yes, I said tax is not a four-letter word, it's not a dirty word. It's how we fund our society, on taxes, not on levies. On taxes. Levy is something that failed in New Orleans. So starting out at zero, because we had no losses from it the year before, because we had collected it. But when they decided not to do their job and collect our taxes, it cost us $1.2 billion in the first year. And for 6 years, they didn't collect it. 7 now, and running. In 6 years, the uncollected tax on this file is $7.2 billion, which is almost 100% of the debt at that point. Even though they had been blaming the debt on the 2009 financial meltdown. Now, we're not a big financial market. The financial meltdown meant nothing to us, except for the fact that it trended downwards on the price of oil a little bit. So during those 6 years, our oil revenues were down, but not down a lot. Now you could say, yeah, but adding them up, that would account for the debt. No, adding them up accounts for, adding up those losses accounts for the $13.9 billion that they had in their sustainability fund that Ralph Klein started way back in 2004. He started the sustainability fund, which morphed into a different kind of fund. I forget the name of it, but I'll remember it in the next segment when it'll be important. But at any point, at $13.9 billion, the first time they started drawing down on it was 2009, because the price of oil went down due to the financial crisis, which put the markets down a little bit. So they started drawing off of this. But that had nothing to do with the debt. The whole debt, 100% of the debt, and I'm going to show you that more than 100% of the debt was caused by the removal of the Alberta healthcare premium tax. Now, by the time we did hit 2014, we only had $3.3 billion left in the slush sustainability fund. New word. Word of the week. Slush sustainability. So, the $13.9 billion, Rachel Notley spent the last $3.3 billion of it last year. So that was wiped out by the fluctuations in oil. And we are left with a $7.8 billion debt at the end of 2015, caused entirely, and I'll show you why, from the removal of the Alberta healthcare premium tax. Now, how does $7.2 billion become 7.8? Well, every year for those 6 years, we had an increase in population in Alberta of 90,000, 550,000 increase over 6 years. Averaging, and I'm rounding off figures, averaging 90,000 a year. 90,000 a year would have produced 60,000 payers of premiums per year, but since they canceled it in April of 2008, effective January of 2009, none of this money was collected. None of the premiums from the new Alberta residents were collected because they refused to collect our money. And then I did a funny thing. Mr. Prentice will know about this. Because we were in a negative position all through that time, I had to add on negative interest charges. Now, I calculated these using, and now I'm going to have to go into grade 5 math or grade 6 math. I calculated these using my grade 5 and 6 math skills at a rate of not less than 1.5%, but not more than 3.0%. And the reason I'm not telling you exactly why is because I rounded off numbers a little bit. I didn't want any politicians to be able to pin me down, because it's really hard to pin them down. It's taken me a long time to put my project together here. So I came up with $8.04 billion. How I did that is $7.2 billion, added on the extra premiums, applied the interest, and came to $8.04 billion, which is fully 100% plus of the debt at that point. So, in other words, the whole debt, when Jim told you to look in the mirror, had been caused by the party that he was the head of. Now, take your jaw up off the floor, pick it up, and let's have some fun together before I wrap up. We got our whiteboard here. Let's wipe it off and make it white. Nice graphs, Rachel, but a little amateurish, and they didn't tell anybody anything. I hope you've learned more today. what I'm going to do here is a little exercise to define the middle class, or to show you how to define the middle class. So in order to find the middle class, if the middle class is in the middle, there has to be a center to the middle class. So there's the center. And we're going to set the center at $50,000. Now I know that's not exactly right. The middle class is different province to province because there's different levels of income. I'm going to set it at $50,000. And there has to be a bottom to the middle class, and that would be the poverty line. Now, what is the poverty line? Well, when the government does this, they half that and they call that the poverty line. Well, I'm going to drop it down even farther. Instead of making it $25,000, I'm going to make it $22,000 is the poverty line. Like I said, I'm showing you how to arrive at it. I don't have all the government figures to come to the exact number, but I'm showing you the formula. So I happen to live on $15,000 a year, so I'm below the poverty line. And everybody below the median income, that's what that is, the median income, or that's what that's representing, the median income, that would be the center of the middle class. Everybody below that is lower middle class until they hit the poverty line, and then they're in poverty, living in poverty. Now, if this is the center, if this is halfway up the middle class, then it must go at equal distance to get to the outer limit of the middle class, which would be here. So it's $28,000 difference between the poverty line and the median income. So when you add 28,000, it has to come to 78,000 would be the outer limits of the middle class. If you make over $50,000, you are upper middle class or better. Now above this are the upper classes. And in there, you will notice our big city mayors are here. Every single one of our MLAs starts at way more than the median income. In fact, they start, even if they've never worked before, even if they were a student yesterday and they got elected today to the member of the legislature assembly, they start, I believe, at around 150,000 in the provincial government, which is 3 times what the median income is. We automatically elevate them. They haven't done a minute of work yet. We automatically elevate them out of the middle class. How can they even relate to us? Anyway, I just thought I'd show that to you. Maybe you can show this to Prime Minister Selfie. He's given middle tax breaks to people making up to $200,000. Enough said about that. So this is near the end of this segment, so I just want to sum this up. Oh, we forgot something. Let's add this in. Way back in 2003, it was announced by the Klein government that starting in 2004, all seniors would be excused from paying the Alberta healthcare premium tax. Even if the senior was making $78,000 a year. Just because they're old, they get excused. It seems to me that old people use the healthcare system more. And if a senior is rich, they shouldn't be excused from their taxes simply because they're on in years. That's ridiculous. That's not fair. And in Alberta, we have to be fair. Anyway, folks, you have a good evening. And until I see you next time, take care.